All right. Hey guys, welcome to the fourth episode of Top Shelf. Hopefully we are live now. This is only our second time doing this live. And so, yeah, we'll see if we get going here. I think we've got some people showing up. If you're showing up, leave me a comment. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know if you can hear me. Everything looks good, sounds good. And yeah, we're going to jump right into this. So before we get started, I'm officially going to be launching this as a podcast on the YouTube podcast. That's not an app, it's the YouTube music app, but they're doing podcasts through that. And so if you guys are interested in doing that and being able to just listen to this in the background as you would a normal podcast, you can actually download the YouTube music app. And if in there you search for Read Like a Man, Top Shelf, you'll be able to find all of these episodes in there. What is up, Joshua Dahl? Thanks, bro. So this is the show, the official, it's episode 4, but it's the official launch of the show, Top Shelf. This is a show where I'm going to be going through all of the books that have most impacted my life. And these are the books that I would recommend to people anywhere, anytime, anyone. It doesn't matter. These are the books that if you read them, I can guarantee you they'll change your life. So that is what we are doing. I've got some new kind of setup going on today. Crusader, what is up, my man? So good to see you guys here. So bear with me here while we kind of figure out what we're doing. So look at that. Hopefully we've actually got some slides up today. So today we are going to be talking about Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. This book is just awesome, right? So starting out, the thing that I want to talk about is like what makes this book special, right? If you have been in the space of any kind of personal development or money or business or anything that is like making yourself better, you have heard somebody mention this book. I can guarantee you. And the awesome thing about that is that really is what makes this book special, right? This book has been impacting people around the world for almost 2,000 years, okay? Marcus lived in 121 to 180 AD. And so this book has stood the test of time. And almost anyone that you look at that you're like, oh, this person is somebody that I super look up to and that like they did a great job with life, they will have referenced this book at some point. I can almost guarantee it. So the super awesome thing about this book is that this book was the private admonitions of the most powerful man in the world, and they were what he used to keep himself in check, okay? But the thing that's cool about that is that this book was never meant to be published. This is literally just his journal, and it's thoughts that Marcus wrote down as they came to him and as he was reflecting on the day and as he's reflecting on the week. And it's just this kind of like very stream of consciousness type thing almost. And so it has a rawness and a unpretentiousness to it that is just really, really cool. And it's really different than some of these other books, which are amazing, but are very outlined and very like this leads to this, leads to this, leads to this, right? And this is so much more reflective of how actual growth gets worked out in our lives, in my opinion, where it's like this massive nugget of insight and then this kind of, a couple just like reminders of just normal stuff that you should know anyways, and then massive chunk of insight and then just some more reminders of like, hey, just keep doing the right stuff, right? So that to me is what makes this book special. It is hard to find books that have been impacting people for almost 2,000 years. Like you have the Bible, you have this, and you have not very many other things, right? So this book holds a very, very special place in literally the history of mankind, all right? So Elizabeth Dahl, what is up, my sister? So good to see you here. All right, yep, so we're talking about meditations. We're gonna get into it. So the way this book is written, it's literally just a bunch of meditations, right? It's just single little quotes. And the biggest thing is, one paragraph. So there's 1,000 quotes in here that I could go through and read, right? One of my favorites was like, it's silly to try to escape other people's faults. They are inescapable. Just try to escape your own, right? So there's 1,000 little pithy statements that we can go through on all this. But because of how this book was written, because this was just the thoughts and essentially Marcus's journal, there's no like 3-point, 10-point outline that you can make of this book, right? You just have to read it and you have to see what sticks out to you. So rather than try to go through and talk about every little thing from it, I want to share one specific thing from it that has massively impacted me. So what I want to talk about today is my favorite quote from this book, and that is this: if anyone can refute me, show me I'm making a mistake or looking at things from the wrong perspective, I'll gladly change. It's the truth I'm after, and the truth never harmed anyone. What harms us is to persist in self-deceit and ignorance. Okay? And that's chapter 6, and it's meditation 21. So this is the quote that started my collection of what I call my life quotes. So I have always, as I've been reading books, I make a note in the notes app on my phone that is all my favorite quotes from that book and my favorite ideas and kind of like my summary of it. This is the quote that first hit me to where I was like, oh my gosh, I need a separate thing for stuff that is just like needs to be foundational in my life, right? And the very first one of those was this quote: if anyone can refute me, show me I'm making a mistake or looking at things from a wrong perspective, I'll gladly change. It's the truth I'm after, and the truth never harmed anyone. What harms us is to persist in self-deceit and ignorance. So today, digging into this book, the only thing that I want to do is dig into this quote. I want to break it apart. I want to tear it down to all its little pieces, and we're going to talk about every single thing. And I want to share with you why this was the very first quote that I put into this life quotes of mine. This idea of these are the quotes that I really want to build my life on, right? This is one of those. So if you're just joining us, this is Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Wonderful, wonderful book. We're going to be talking about this quote. Hey, Mama is here. Look at that. Hello, Chipley Gordon and Lars Dahl. Looks great, and your sound is amazing, Paige. You should do this for a living. Oh, Lars Dahl, look at you. You know, I've been thinking about doing some audio stuff for work. You know, Hey, look at that. We can even pull you up on, man, this stuff is just too much fun, you guys. All right, so let's dig into this quote. The first part of this is, if anyone can refute me, show me I'm making a mistake or looking at things from the wrong perspective, okay? That is the foundation of this whole mindset that Marcus is talking about, right? And this is the foundation of doing the work to build a firm foundation, right? So the foundation of this attitude is the knowledge that I have done the work necessary to earn the position that I currently hold, okay? So whatever it is that I think about a thing currently is not just because like, oh, I've kind of like, oh yeah, I read something about it one time and blah, right? This is, I have actually put in the effort to do the research, to do the thinking, to do the comparing and contrasting of different opinions on this thing, to come up with my opinion. And my opinion is not something that has just sprung out of nowhere. Jordan Peterson was the first one that really kind of hit me with this because he had given a definition of living together. And at the end of this kind of ranty paragraph in the book where he is very clearly like, this is what it means to live together before you are married, and it's not great. He ended the paragraph with this idea of like, and if someone thinks differently than that, please try to come up with a better definition, because this is my definition after having spent my life as a psychologist and after having done all of this stuff. And so I'm open to my mind being changed, but good luck coming up with something better because I've spent a lot of time coming up with this one, right? And so the idea behind this is that if you're going to change my mind about something, you have to earn it, right? I earned the view that I have right now. And so if you want to change it, I'm not just going to be like, oh yeah, sure. Well, I guess, that sounds good, right? So if someone else is talking to me, it's not good enough for you to think that I'm making a mistake in my thinking or holding the wrong position. It's your job to convince me to think that as well, okay? So that's the foundation of everything. Before you can refute me, you have to actually earn it because I've done the work to earn the position that I hold right now. All right. So then the next thing that we have is change. And this is where Marcus says, I'll gladly change. Okay. And the idea of this is that the moment I've been convinced that the position I currently hold is no longer the best position, I'm immediately open to shifting my views, right? That doesn't mean I immediately shift my views, but I am open to it. And the reason I'm open to it is because I did all this work beforehand to get to the one that I have now. And so if there's new information that comes to mind and it brings to light a better opinion or a better position for me to have, then I need to be open to shifting that, right? And really what it comes down to is modern day, we have this idea that for some reason we think changing your mind is a bad thing. We always kind of equate that to a bad thing. It's like if someone changed their mind, it means like, I went from being a Christian, believing the Bible to not, or I went from believing in this to not. And we always think of it as this negative thing, right? But the fact of the matter is that you should always be open to the possibility of changing your mind, because the only thing that you can know for sure is that you don't know everything. All right? So some of the positions that you hold right now aren't right. You just don't know it yet. All right? So we're going to do the work to be confident in the position that we currently hold, but I'm also not going to be so confident that I'm not open to changing that position if better information comes along. All right. So next we have truth, right? And this is one of the core of this whole thing. As Marcus says, it's the truth I'm after. All right. So if truth is what we're after, what is truth, right? Well, in a general sense, truth is that which aligns with reality, right? From a Christian perspective, we know that truth is not just that which aligns with reality, but truth is also a person. Truth is Jesus Christ. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life, right? So truth is not only that which aligns with the reality that we see and that we know right now, truth is also the ultimate reality, right? And so that's what we're constantly going after. That's what we're constantly trying to align our thinking and our understanding with, all right? So if you're liking this video, please leave it a thumbs up. And if you have any if you have any thoughts so far right now, please leave me a comment. If you're watching this after the live stream or listening to it on podcast, leave me a comment, let me know. And yeah, we're going to keep going. So now we get to the idea of harm. And this is really the biggest piece of all this that I want you to get in your brain today. Marcus says the truth never harmed anyone. And in modern times, we do not recognize that there is a difference between hurt and harm, okay? So harm denotes permanent damage that leads to perpetual weakening, okay? So like when I was 16 or 17, I was putting together a tent, and we were like hammering stakes into the ground, and I had somebody hit a sledgehammer on my knee, right? That harmed my knee and created damage that has carried on through the years, leading to a perpetual weakening of the function of that knee, right? That is what harm is. Hurt denotes temporary pain that leads to eventual strength. So when my knee got bashed in by a sledgehammer, that harmed my knee and has led to perpetual weakening. But when I work out one day and I do 500,000 squats and my quads are burning like crazy, right? That is hurtful. It does hurt really bad, but it's temporary pain and it leads to eventual strength over the long run, right? And so the thing that Marcus gets out of this is this understanding that truth always hurts us on some level, because we have to recognize that we were wrong. We weren't aligned with reality, right? But truth never harms us. Truth doesn't lead to perpetual weakening. Truth always leads to eventual strength, even if it's temporarily painful in the short term, all right? Hey, look at that. Kimberly Gordon, my bride, is here. And I'm glad that she's here more than all of you other guys. I love you, but she's my favorite. So good to see you, sugar. All right. So harm versus hurt. You have to get that in your head. Truth does not harm. It does not lead to perpetual weakening. It leads to eventual strength. It will hurt you, but it does not harm you. All right. So if that's the case, then what does harm us? The first thing that we have to look at is this word persist. What harms us is to persist. What does persist mean? Persist is to continue firmly or obstinately in an opinion or course of action. All right? So we can use that to say that true harm is birthed in obstinacy. And obstinacy is stubbornly refusing. All right? So true harm comes from stubbornly refusing, right? The next question is refusing to do what, right? This is the last piece of this whole thing. Self-deceit and ignorance. Self-deceit is ignoring what you know. Ignorance is ignoring what you don't know. So true harm is always the result of stubbornly refusing to stop ignoring one of those things. If you are refusing to stop ignoring what you do know, but you aren't happy with or doesn't make you feel good right now or whatever, that leads to true harm. If you're stubbornly refusing to stop ignoring that you don't know everything and there's stuff out there that you have not been exposed to yet, and ergo your position is wrong because you can't be right about everything, that always leads to true harm. And so Marcus brings this great understanding that if I'm talking with someone else and they bring information to light that is going to cause me to change my mind because new information is now part of the deal, and I realize that I had an incomplete picture, and now I have a better picture, and now I can see that there's a better position that I could or should be holding, right? That is hurtful temporarily, but it does not lead to true harm, okay? So being forced to confront whatever it is we're ignoring is always an unpleasant experience, but it does not harm us in the long run. And you have to remember that. Harm leads to perpetual weakening. Hurt leads to eventual strength, all right? So when we put all of that together, we can come back to this full quote and we can say, if anyone can refute me, show me I'm making a mistake or looking at things from the wrong perspective, I'll gladly change. It's the truth I'm after, and the truth never harmed anyone. What harms us is to persist in self-deceit and ignorance. So this became foundational to me. Like I said, this is the very first quote that I put in my life quotes book because I constantly want to remember that. What will actually harm me in the long run is a stubborn refusal to admit that I know something, but I'm not living it out, or a stubborn refusal to admit that I don't know everything and I'm not perfect and my understanding and my knowledge is not perfect and will not give me the perfect understanding that I need in every situation. So I want to know, what do you guys think? Do you think that quote is worthy of being a life quote? Do you think that's something that is worthy of making a foundational understanding and a foundational mindset in your life? Because it is for me. Again, in that note, that is the very first one. And I've got some other ones in there now, and I'm slowly kind of trying to build the truth of them into my life. But everything for me starts with this one, with an understanding that the last thing that I want to do is persist in self-deceit and ignorance. And so I'm always trying to question myself and understand, is this attitude that I have right now and this action that I'm taking right now, is it causing me to persist in self-deceit and ignorance? And if it is, then I need to let it go and I need to change to something else. All right. So I would highly recommend this book. The edition that I have is the Modern Library edition. This one is translated by Gregory Hayes. And I would super recommend this one. I haven't read any other editions of this book, but Ryan Holiday, who is kind of like the modern day king of the Stoics, he has read, I think, every translation of Meditations that is out there. And this is the one that he recommends as the kind of initial starting point. So this is the one that I would say if you want to pick it up and you want to read this book, definitely start with this one. So yeah. What do we got here? Gotcha. We spend so much time judging each other because we think we're the only ones with a complete picture. It's so true. We get so caught up in this lie that whatever the thing is, I have the complete understanding of it. And the only thing that you can actually know for sure is that you don't have the complete picture of anything. Your picture is always needs to be getting refined. It always needs to be getting updated. And the thing about the other thing about this is the way that changing perspectives work, right? Is changing my mind doesn't necessarily mean that I change my mind from A to B, right? Changing my mind can also mean that I change my mind from somewhat agreeing with A and having pretty good reasons for it and having thought through that fairly well, right? To now I've really done a bunch of work for this and am even more established in my thinking and in my understanding of the thing. 100 years ago, the truth could get you killed. The truth today, the truth won't get you to the top. It's true. And that's, I mean, the thing is we have such an issue in our culture of everyone is shying away from the truth. But foundationally, what this quote reminds me of is that it happens because we've disassociated hurt and harm. And we think that if something hurts, it's automatically bad for me, right? And we can't go on persisting in this idea that if something hurts, then it's automatically harmful, because it's not. Harm does damage, right? That's the number one thing that we have to remember is harm does damage, and it leads to perpetual weakening. Hurt hurts temporarily, but leads to eventual strength. And so we have to constantly be asking ourselves, whenever we run into something that we don't like, that is challenging, or people that we don't like, or any of these things, right? We have to distinguish, is this hurtful or is this harmful? Because if it's hurtful, then I need to build up my character and build up my ability to think and to deal with things and to engage with opinions and with people who don't agree with me, and in order to grow myself and in order to expose myself to new information, so that if there's somewhere that I need to change my view and I need to get new information to change my perspective, I'm open to doing it, right? And that's the number one reason why we have people that are we're so stuck in these echo chambers, and we're so stuck in our opinions, and we're not open to anything else or anyone else having any other idea, because we think we just know it all. And the one thing you can know for sure is that you don't. All right. So that is, well, let's see. I think that's all I had for today. Yeah, that's all I had for today in my notes. I'll pull this quote up one more time for you if you guys want to take a look at that. And yeah, I would love for you guys to leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of this format. Let me know if you like having the notes on here, if you're streaming on YouTube, or if you're watching live with me on this. Again, if you are interested in listening to this as a podcast, so you can lock your phone and you can kind of just go on and do stuff and just listen to the audio in the background. If you get the YouTube Music app and you search for Top Shelf Read Like a Man, that will show up in here. I'll have a whole playlist in there. You can listen to all of these episodes so far. My goal is to go live once a week. I think it's going to be on Fridays, and we're just going to kind of keep this same format. We'll change stuff up as we get feedback on what people like and what is helpful. But yeah, I would love to keep these going. I would love to have actual conversations with people. I love filming the videos and then editing and posting them later, but I really want to build a place where we can have a conversation kind of in real time, and where if you guys have questions of whatever it is that we're talking about, we can, excuse me, we can delve into those more as we go. Kim says, yes, podcast it. So the funny thing with this is that I don't listen to podcasts, because I work at my computer all day, and so I can just play YouTube videos. So even though I don't watch all of them all the time, and I listen to them like podcasts, I don't actually listen to podcasts. So Kim is my podcast monster here. Mama says, super first quote for your book, honey. You know the truth. It started when we did critical thinking years ago. Bahaha. It's so true. Mama, for those of you who don't know, Chipley Gordon, my mama, homeschooled myself and 3 little brothers and 2 older sisters. So she homeschooled for a long time and somehow managed to survive dealing with all 6 of us children. So yeah, props to mama. Yeah, there you go. Meditations, Marcus Aurelius. We will be back hopefully next week. I might have to have a pre-recorded episode next week just because I am going to be gone on a work trip. But I would like to keep these going. And yeah, I think that's all I got. So we're going to hang out here for one more minute. If anyone has any other things, hit me up in the comments. And while we're doing that, I am going to read a couple more quotes from this because they're just so good. So all of my books, if my camera will focus, I dog ear my favorite passages from them. And so, yeah. Let's see if we can find something good. That you don't know for sure, it is a mistake. A lot of things are mean to some other end, are a means to some other end. You have to know an awful lot before you can judge other people's actions with real understanding. That is such a huge thing for me. And I love, it made me think of, I don't know if you've ever read the book, A Tale of Three Kings by Gene Edwards, but he talks about how we can't truly judge other people's hearts. That's up to God. All we can do is just look at the actions that they're doing and pray for insight on how to deal with them, right? And so it's just another one of those things. It's just how we can't know everything about anything. We also can't know everything about somebody else. And so before we go making all these judgments about someone else, really taking the time to understand what it is that they're doing and why they're doing stuff. All right, this will be my last one. And if you're on the live stream here, I'll show you. To stop talking about what the good man is like and just be one. There you go. Stop talking about what a good man is like and just be one. That is my goal. Excuse me. And that's what I'm here to help you guys and gals. You can be good men too, girls. Oh, all right. Well, thank you guys so much for showing up. Let me know if you have any books that you would like me to check out. And if they're good enough, I'll put them on here. But yeah, I have a long list of books that I would love to share with you guys. Tons of great ideas, tons of books that legitimately will change your life if you take the time to read and understand them. So thank you all so much for coming, and I will talk to you in the next one.